Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Wow, that's insane. I think the guy in our first story really dodged a bullet there with that insane Karen, and our OP did a great job in a situation where patience was required. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. The breakup. This happened about a year ago. I used to work as a security officer for a company that has more than 5 flags. With my employee ID, I can get into any company-owned park for free. As it just so happens, there are a few close by to where I live. On one of my days off, I decided to go and visit the other park and just have a day of fun with some friends. I was wearing jeans, boots, and a blue polo with my usual black sunglasses. My standard posture is also the tough guy, as it's been described to me, stance. Shoulders back, chest out, head high, no slouching, and hands out of my pockets. So we were walking around trying to decide what to do next when I see a child who obviously looked lost. I signal an employee and let them know I found a lost child. They start trying to get security to take the child to the lost children's area while I try to comfort the crying child. They get it all taken care of and I proceed with my day. About 30 minutes later, I hear a banshee call followed by a forceful poke to my shoulder. I turn around to a lady, maybe 25 years old, screaming at me for not helping her. I looked at my friends, then back at her, confused as to what the hell she's on about. She screamed, "I need to talk to your supervisor." I informed her that I didn't work there and tried to turn to carry on with my day. She called bullcrap and cited that she saw me helping that child earlier and she recognized me from the other park. I again told her that I'm not employed at this park, nor am I on duty, but I'd be willing to help her find someone who could help. She wasn't having it. She was screaming at me over something about the service sucks and the lines are too long. I don't know what she'd have me do about that anyways. I wished her good day and turned to leave as I was not about to deal with this. She grabbed me and tried to spin me around to further get my attention. I told one of my buddies to get security, but before the officer arrived, she stormed off to find her boyfriend. Well, this won't be good, is what was going through my head. We decided it was time to relocate, so we told the officer what happened and her description, then left. We walked for about 10 minutes when we hear, "That's him!" Recognizing the voice, I sighed and turned around to a guy who was slightly smaller than me, walking up to me, fuming, then stopping immediately and face-palming. Yes, he actually face-palmed. He turned to his girlfriend and said, insert psycho name here, "He doesn't work here." She began freaking out on him, saying that I did and she recognized me from the other park. He replied, "Yeah, that's there, not here. Besides, he's not even in uniform. He's probably just trying to enjoy his day." She started yelling at him about not backing her up and he never backs her up, blah, blah, blah. The same security officer from before saw what was going on and came over to defuse the situation. I complied as I know to do and she kept screaming at everyone. The guy finally said, "You know what? I can't deal with this anymore. Find your own way home. I'm out," and left. Security asked for his information for future reference. He gave it and left. The woman's now bright red, crying and pissed beyond all hell. She was ejected from the park. Security apologized to me, thanked me for my compliance, and passed on a note to my supervisor about how I helped them in their park too. That boyfriend had clearly dealt with too much for too long. And our second story. If the customer before me was a bee, I guess I should keep the ball rolling and be a bee myself. I used to work at a bakery. We get really nice customers most of the time. Then we get customers that just hate life and want to complain about every little thing or even outright lie about an order just so they can get it for free. Well, actually, that happens quite often. Anyway, a lady comes in and I hand her order. Someone accidentally put the wrong label on her order. It was a quarter sheet cake label for $19.48 instead of a $9.98 eighth sheet cake. She's freaking out. Wanted to speak to a manager, calling me names. It was an easy fix, so I don't know why she had to go crazy like that. I go to our label machine and print out the correct label with barcode. I tell her that a manager wouldn't be needed unless there's something actually wrong with her cake. She's staring at it, looking for anything wrong with it. Thankfully, nothing. She takes her new label and leaves because she's running late. She claims she didn't have time to be bullcrapping. Right. So naturally, everyone's staring. It's a Saturday. We're really busy. I go on to help the next customer. I'm hoping she'll be nicer or even feel a little bit sorry for me. Nope, she isn't. She has an evil grin and tells me her last name. I hand her her order, and she tells me to take the cake out so she can examine it. I do. She's looking at it. Nothing wrong with it. I swear she looked upset that her order was correct. I put the cake back in the packaging. I last minute noticed that on the corner of the sheet board of her cake, it's marked that it has strawberry filling. The label reads quarter sheet cake for $14.98, when her cake is a quarter sheet cake with filling, which should be $17.98. I never would have noticed if she'd just taken her order, so I tell her, apologize for our mistake. I walk off before she can respond. Print off correct one, I tear off her old label and replace it, hand her the cake, and tell her to have a nice day. She stood there dumbfounded, even a little pissed off that she could have gotten away with paying less. I can tell she wanted to say something, but she already felt like a jerk for being a bee for no reason. It was her own damn fault. Most of the time, I just disregard minor details like that and move on. As she walks away, I tell my bakery crew that we need to make sure we're printing out the right labels. She turns around and gives me a hateful look. I just ignored her. We make mistakes, but we're really good about fixing them and giving discounts when necessary, or even if we get a really nice and understanding customer, we really hook them up. Gotta love customer service jobs. It's a wonder how many people have never been taught or have forgotten that you catch more flies with honey than vinegar. And our next story. Young, blonde, and bendy. I've been a nanny/babysitter now for over 17 years, and I have plenty of stories of people trying to short pay me or negotiate me already very reasonable prices, but this one instance always sticks out in my mind. I was 20 years old and working for a family I hated. The kids were great, but the parents were terrible, so I was constantly interviewing with new prospective clients. Someone from my church set up a meeting with a newly single dad. His wife had recently passed away, and he was struggling to keep the house up. Note, when I nanny, I do very light housework only, unless they specifically ask for other tasks done and offer to fairly compensate for those tasks. Anyway, I go on the interview, which is more than twice as far away as any of my current clients, but this job was full-time, so I thought it might be worth it. I meet the dad and his kids, and the interview goes pretty well. His expectations were really high as far as housekeeping goes. He wanted me to get his kids off to school in the morning and stay at the house cleaning and preparing dinner until the kids got home from school. Not really my cup of tea, but I was trying to keep an open mind and get out of my current employment situation. The interview's coming to a close and we discuss compensation. He offers me $100 a week for about 40 to 50 hours worth of work. I was speechless. I told him what my hourly rates were, and he said I was crazy and that there was no way he could afford that. This was several years ago, and I think I asked for around $10 to $12 an hour. I politely explained that I didn't think I was a good fit for his family, and he shot back with, "But you're just what we're looking for. You're young, blonde, and bendy." I could feel my face turning scarlet and said I needed to leave. He then called me every day for the next 2 weeks, trying to convince me to work for his family, and then started to gossip about me at the church. And our last story. Told my neighbor and HOA to stuff it and leave. I, 25-year-old male, own a lakeside property that was legally and officially given to me by my parents. I've been living here for 6 years and have some great neighbors along with some not-so-great ones. Of all my neighbors, I've only ever had problems with one who lives right next door named Mariette. She first moved in early this summer as she had the former house on her property demolished and rebuilt. My problem started with her over the use of my wood stove and fireplaces. With the temperatures getting colder, I've started to use them daily. My house is not equipped with any form of heating outside of the wood stove and a fireplace. This means that from fall until spring, I will constantly have them going to keep my place warm. My family never outfitted the home with anything better because it was for weekend trips and we would winterize and leave it when things got cold. My parents thought of adding oil heating when I moved in, however, I opposed it because it was a waste of money and I didn't mind splitting logs. 5 days ago, after having received my shipment of logs for the fall, I was approached by my neighbor, Mariette. She came around asking for my parents, to which I said they don't live here, and I'm the homeowner. She didn't believe me and said that I was too young to be a homeowner before leaving. Later that day, I heard a knock at my door and thought it was my girlfriend, so I gave my usual greeting of, "Hey, sweet cheeks," while opening the door. Unfortunately, it was not her. It was Mariette again, so I apologized quickly and asked what she wanted. Once again, she wanted to speak with my parents, to which, in a more stern tone, said that I was the homeowner. This time, she finally got it and said that I'm violating HOA policy by using wood-burning fireplaces indoors and outdoors. In response, I said that as new as the house looks, I am not a member of the group and that the town permits fireplaces and burning yard waste. She then went on to ask why I even needed them because they do nothing but harm the environment. I went on to explain that while the house exterior looks new, the house actually has been around since 1930 and uses a wood stove and fireplace heating. She didn't believe me, yet again, and said she would be back with an inspector. Yesterday, once again, she came with another person who introduced themselves as an HOA inspector. They tried to talk about my fireplaces, but I shut them down immediately and said that I'm not a member of their group. The guy then tried to lie by saying that the HOA is in control of all the properties in the area. I immediately called him out on the lie and said that he's either lazy or a moron for not knowing that I'm not with them. We went back and forth one more time before I told him I will not listen to them and to stuff it and leave. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.